Hi, everybody. This is Marcia O'Conner with the O'Conner Group, and we are here to talk about HR and recruiting. We've got a lineup of questions today, so we're real excited about that. So here we go. Okay, first question today is from Marlena Carter, and Marlena has asked, is it acceptable to let any employee go due to a negative mindset? Well, it really depends upon what state you live in. There is an at will. So obviously, if they're under 40 and they are not in protective class, you have a lot more freedom to do that, and you can have those conversations. But we highly recommend that you actually put people on a PIP, performance improvement plan, have the conversation. Guys, I can't tell you how many times I go into a client, they want to get rid of somebody, and the first question I ask, will this be a surprise to this person? And 95% of the time, they'll be like, well, they should know. And that's not really the answer I'm looking for. They should not know. Most people don't know. And you want to have the communication with it. Now, what I would advise is have that communication with another person, because I always believe that 4 ears are better than 2 ears. And you want to make sure, too, that you have a witness of whatever was said in that conversation. Now, you can let them know they have a negative mindset and how that's affecting other people. And you can have that conversation. I would document that conversation. And you want to give it a time frame. And typically I do 30-day pips. And if I don't hear and see things better, saying, hey, listen, I need this from you, I need this from you, I need this from you. If I don't see that within 30 days, we should really talk about, basically you finding other opportunities. And you're totally okay to do that. I've seen a lot of employers actually fire people too. And I said, you can definitely do that, but you want to make sure that you're covered. My job is to make sure that you're in compliance and make sure that you don't get sued. So do the steps behind it, have the hard communication, even prep yourself with somebody with that communication. It's not as hard as you think. And more times than not, there's a negative mindset because they're not happy in their job. So don't forget to do that. Okay. Second question today. I'm going to kill the last name, so I apologize up front. Allison Kuyangi, Koyangi. I'll just say it that way. Question is, would you recommend self-funding your business or getting an investor? Honestly, I think that really depends upon, how big you want to start with and what you can afford and what you can't afford. You got to keep in mind, as soon as you have an investor, it depends on what kind of investor that you have. They like to see performance and they want to see their money back. And so you want to make sure that you've got good controls already in play when you do have an investor. Some are sound investors, like a family member and all too, and that's totally okay. I had gone with self-funded. I took a bonus and I said I can make that last for 6 months. And I was very fortunate and hadn't got a few clients during that time frame. So I didn't want to have to worry about telling people my results or my financials. I wanted that to have full control over my numbers and all too. So I was very fortunate not to have that, even though I probably could have used it. But nonetheless, I just took $1 and I stretched it. And keep in mind, when you are beginning a business, I think there is a false pretense that you need an office, you need this, you need this, you need that. You really don't need as much stuff as you think you do. You need the basics. Obviously, even a one-page website is nice. There are people that can do that for you, not so expensively. You need business cards. Well, right now I'm not so sure because we're all virtual. But, things like that, a really good computer, technology. I have a little light up top here. Those things really help you get noticed, acknowledged. The biggest thing you want to do is have a really good product that people want to buy. If something, all this stuff around you, and then people don't buy your product, it's not good. They'll have a big debt. So you want to make sure that you really think the pros and cons behind it. And if you do use an investor, be very clear about expectations about payback. Okay. Next question. We have Alina Smith, and she is asking, how do you decide on what to work on when you have a million ideas? I'm becoming less efficient because I'm so scattered in what to do or what to do finish first. I get that. And when you are basically starting a company and all too, you are basically the painter, the chef, the bottle washer, the person that does the vacuum. You do everything, and it's really hard to do that. How I did my stuff is actually I would have basically spreadsheets. I'm an accountant by trade. And I would actually write down all the things that were a priority for me. And, I had a really good friend, Adam, one time told me, he goes, Marsh, he goes, how do you need an elephant one bite at a time? And what that means basically is if you take everything at the whole and you look at the whole, it's overwhelming. But if you actually take each section and pull it apart and go over what's priority one, priority two, priority three, and you get into the rhythm of doing that, it actually gets a lot easier because you're accomplishing bits and pieces, but you want to get to the whole so that you feel like you've accomplished stuff. So I have to write stuff down. So I write everything down, I visualize it, I put a timeline together on all two, and when I want to see it in all two, and where it's going to go. And that helps me really stay very organized because I look at my day basically in columns of like this area, this area, this area, what I have to do. So it really takes a little bit of practice there, but I would definitely go on YouTube and look at basically how to use time management. And it's going to have to fit what you like to do and how you want to do it. I do a lot of notes. Not everybody likes notes. A lot of people like putting things in their computer. I personally like to see and write it because I visualize remembering those pieces and all too, and that just helps me with my day. I also suggest looking at your calendar the night before just to make sure that you have lined out your entire day, what you want to do, how much time, is something organized, who else can help you out with that. And don't forget, the larger you become in your organization, way more you have to delegate. And delegation can be very difficult because there's a trust factor there. And obviously, you always feel like no one can do it better than you. And you have to let that go. And it takes time to do that, but you have to let that go and trust other people. And yes, they're going to fail like you failed. And that's okay. They're going to get back up again. And it's going to be trial and error. It can't be perfect. But if you don't let go, you'll never get to where you want to go. All righty, next question I'm going to go on here. So the person is McBon, and I'm definitely going to crucify the last name again, but Nan Kenji. I'm sorry if I did crucify that one. The question is, what process do you use when you are trying to determine what compensation will be for one of your new employees? Well, to be honest with you, I typically, eventually you get to a lot of employees and they have basically banding. And certain titles go into like band A to 3 or A to C and then C to F. So it really depends upon, what the market is, what's out there, scalability. And how I started out was asking them where their current salary was. And when I would bring them on board, like an hourly, I would take that salary, I would divide it by 2080. 2080 is about pretty much the hours an average American works in the US a year, 2080. So you would divide that, you would get an hourly rate, and then figure out if you're paying them 1099, you pay a little bit more because they're paying their own taxes. And if you're doing W-2, I usually pay a little bit less because of the fact that they can move up an area. And if you're paying benefits or if you're paying short-term, long-term disability, all those things that add value to that, you want to make sure that you add those things in there. So I basically would go along those different lines. Now, I have enough people now where I actually have salary bands to show you where a minimum and a maximum is, but I know a lot of smaller companies don't have that yet. What you don't want to do is just to go over. And I think it's getting a little trickier right now because I know for Philadelphia, you can't ask about salary really too much anymore, but there's a ways around it of saying where are you expecting in regards to a salary. And you can also do like salary pay scale and all to have great salary surveys to talk about that job description and where that job description falls in regards to other companies in that area. So just keep that in mind. There's so many ways of doing it, and ask your friends if they have similar positions and all too, and see where the market's at and all too. You just don't want to you want to do it where it's fair, but you don't want to under and you don't want to over. And I always, like I said, there's a red flag when someone comes aboard too fast and they paid higher and they come aboard too fast. I got to ask myself, why are they so eager? What's missing? What am I missing here? Okay, I hope that helps you. Next question from Gaber Race. How do I get a new team to see me as a leader after a merger? It's a great question. And I know M&A is like hot and heavy right now and all too. You know what? I would say you want to be the change you want to be. And so for me, I can tell you, I see a lot of people that do really well. First 6 months, they do a lot of listening, and they want to make sure like, is everything okay, and where are we at? They're not making changes right away and all too. They're doing more processing. They're doing more listening about what's working well, what doesn't work really well, and then they put a plan of action together, and then they go and execute. I think a lot of times when I see M&A, the ones that do it really well are the ones who do more processing first and then they execute. The ones that don't do it so well, they don't listen and they just want to go ahead. And what happens is you have a lot of knowledge management out there that want to be listened to. And you know what, to me, I'm like, that's so invaluable to learn what has worked well, what hasn't worked well, and how to help it. So you have to be that trusted leader. And how you do that, it is a lot of time. It's a lot of communication. It's a lot of patience, but you want to set things up like you have town halls. You might want to have a monthly Zoom with your entire team, just different things like that to get the communication out there because they want to see you as a human being. They want to see you basically that they not only do you care about the world, but you care about them. And small little pieces to get there too. So don't move too fast. I would say when you want to do that, think more like a marathon and all too. So don't be a sprinter. And next question is by same person, giver. What routines and habits would you recommend adopting, and at what pace to achieve in success in all areas of life simultaneously? And P.S. Is this even possible? Um, Gabriel, I gotta tell you, I think it depends upon what you want in your world. I don't think, people always say, like, I want the best of both worlds. I want to be a mom and I want to have my own business and I want to do this. Something's got to give. You can have it all, but you can't have it all. And what that means is you have to put a reality in your life as to what's really important in your world. Is it really important, the family? Is it more important, smelling the roses? Is it more important, I just want to make a difference in my world? You have to figure out where you want to start with that. I see too many people always put the money, money, money out there. And then what happens is they lost a lot of friends. Their family don't really talk to them when they get older, when they're successful, and they realize they moved 4 or 5 times, and now they say to themselves, "What was it for?" You have to figure out what's important to you and what's important to your surroundings. I have to tell you, for me, important for me was my family. It was being close to my dad. It was being close to my husband and my son. And I can attest that no matter what, I think they both know that I always made them a priority in regards to like, nope, what do you want to do? How are we going to do this? And you have to shut off. Now, there have been many days when I started, I would work to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and wake up at 6 and get back to the world. But I was on a mission. And ironically enough, it was never about money. It was never about money. It was about growing and basically connecting people and creating a really fun culture. It's something I've just always wanted to do. And so it really comes down to what the impact you want to do. What's the purpose? And if you look to Simon Sinek, he has a great video out there about the why. And you have to really figure that out first because life is way too short. And I've just seen too many people I would interview who are in their 60s, super successful, made a ton of money. And one of the biggest things they always say to me, I would have spent more time with family. So you have to figure out what's important to you first. Okay. Next one is from Joe Nugent. I can say that last name. How do I determine when the right time is for me to start delegating tasks so I can be more productive with my time as a business owner? Well, let me tell you, much experience in this area. When you're working 80-hour weeks, it's time to get another person. And, I think the hardest thing is you don't think anybody else can do it as well as you are. And I gotta tell you, I hired my first W-2 employee literally 10 years ago. And here's the kicker, I never even met her face to face. She was actually a referral from somebody who used to work for me in a prior role. And she said to me, I know the person that you're looking for. I know how you are. You need to trust me. She loves recruiting and you're going to love her. And so we chatted on the phone. This is before Zoom time. And we really had a good conversation and all too. And she was taking a chance on me because she was going from a full-time job to basically, little old me. And she's my first employee. I didn't even have an office back then. And she came on board. And She said, I just want to be busy. And I think the joke now is, I'm like, so have you ever had any downtime? She's like, pretty much no. You kept your word. And I said, told you. But she's out in Las Vegas. She has two kids now who are um, older, a little older now. And she has that flexibility to be mom. And she really loves what she does. And it works for what we do. And then you realize that when she got busy at 40 hours, you like, oh wow, I need another person. So you have to figure that out. I think the magic trick right now is to have a really good bench. And when you have a bench of people right now, I always have a bench of people. And I always have 5 people for my HR and my TA at any time. It takes a lot of work to do that. But I realize when work comes in, I can basically wait 1 or 2 weeks, but more than that, they'll go to somebody else. So you want to make sure you have a bench of people to go. But typically, when you feel that crunch, you feel that squeeze, you can't get your head above water. It's time to basically hire more people. And don't forget to outsource too. Outsource your accounting, outsource your marketing. There's a certain areas where there are people that are just better than we are. And if you can't afford somebody full time for what you want, use them in the interim right now. You can budget that. And keep in mind, it's a complete write off too that you're not paying any benefits for. So it's always a good possibility. And the next one is from Christopher Joseph. So, question is relationship question. How do I balance school and working on developing my business and having a relationship? So, we're looking for 3 things there, right? You know what? It's like how you plan your day. You have to figure out what's a priority and all too. And I look at it a big pie. Take the pie and do it 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. And you have to figure out your priority. It's not easy. Going to school and basically doing all that is really difficult. One of my senior leaders on my team, she is in school. She has 3 kids, and she works super hard on my team. And she is super organized too. But I think what she tries to do is try to basically make sure she gets the most of every single day. But you got to practice and work hard on it. It won't come easy if you're not used to it. And you have to visualize each day basically and using your time. I'm probably super strong on time management, but I also have to tell you, it's hard for me to like calm down sometimes too because I'm on go, go, go mode all the time. And my husband has basically just given up saying that's just who she is. But I'm a type AAA personality, so I know what I need to do, but I do. I have a really good relationship with my husband and my son. I have a really good relationship with my family. I have a really good relationship with my friends as well as my teammates. But I make that a priority to basically spend. Hey, I got my magic number is 3, and so what I do every day is like top 3. I do 3 compliments a day, 3 things for me a day, three areas that I always want to make sure that I do every day, and that helps me make sure that I do all that. I have 3 caring things a day too. And what does that mean? Sometimes it's a card to somebody, it's a phone call to somebody, um, it's sending them an email and all too. And I do that to make sure that I don't forget to lose the touch base because time goes too fast. So you got to make it a priority of what's important to you. And then you want to have that communication. So with your spouse, you want to have that communication. Say, hey, how about Wednesday nights? Should we go out on a date? We'll do Wednesday night dates. And then I know I've got class Tuesdays and Thursday nights and all too. And then Friday we can do family night together. But I know on the mornings I want to work out and I want to make sure like the 2 hours I work on my business plan. You got to put it in your calendar to really make it work, but you got to write it down. For me in my world, if it don't write it down, it doesn't happen. I hope that helps a little bit for you. But read a lot of business books and all too. There's a lot of really good stuff out there too about time and time management. And it really comes down to really figuring out what you want to spend time on. And it can get a little crazy at one time, but it is worth it in the long run. When I started my business, my son was only 7. My dad, was older, and I was taking care of him too. And there was so much going on. And you know what? There were days I didn't think I was going to get out of bed sometimes. But you know what? You persevere, you get through it, you have friends that motivate you. You can join groups. Accelerator Organization is a great group to join. I was also involved with a women's entrepreneur group. I was involved with Entrepreneurs Organization. All these groups helped me understand that I wasn't crazy, but I was also like, okay, you've been through this and this is how you did that. But they give you tips and tricks of things that you didn't think about before. So utilize all that knowledge out there. They're willing to help you out. They have to know that you need the help. That's a big thing too. All right, so on to Corey Van Wyck. What resource, I'm sorry, his question is, or her, I'm not sure, what resources or processes can I use to become more efficient with my workday? Well, I think we're going over the same idea here. There's lots of different things. I do Outlook and I do my calendar. I am anal. When I was in college, I used a Franklin planner and I brought that little book. Well, not really little. That book was like my Bible of my days, my weeks, my months, and my whole planning for my mind. And I have to still write things down lots of times too. So I'll use my computer with my Outlook. I have my phone. And you know what? I have my pad of paper. I have a booklet with me. It goes with me everywhere because one, I don't forget, I don't remember much anymore. But I write it down so it goes into my head of what I need to do. And you know what? I put a date next to it too, because sometimes you forget what date you wrote that down. And it just helps me understand what I need to do. And then when I have something that really gets done within a week, I actually take that and I put a big D-O and I circle it. So when I'm going through the book, when I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, that has to get done, that has to get done, this has to get done. It's really called time management. And the more you do it, it's almost like it's a practice, it's a behavior. You'll get better at it. Trust me. You just got to keep at it and keep a consistent method there too. But everybody's going to be different. There isn't a one size that fits all. You have to figure out what makes you happy. I have friends that only want a computer and that's it, and that's fine. It works for them. There are some that just want to use the phone, and that's fine with them. Figure out the method that makes it easier for you. Okay, those are my best stuff. Also, go on YouTube. There are some wonderful, wonderful videos of how to do all that too, and just put it in there about time management and skills, and see what else is out there. And also, there's podcasts too. There's great podcasts. There's so much stuff. There's not enough time in a day of all the podcasts I want to listen to. So by all means, just see what's out there. And you know what? Ask your peers and friends who have businesses as well and saying, hey, what kind of systems? How do you keep track of your time? What do you do? I mean, everybody's a little different, but I do Office 365. And what else is here? Um, and I would say, okay. And last question from Jocelyn Padilla. The question is, if you were asked to be interviewed on a podcast or Zoom or show, what are things you would do to vet the show and the other person to be sure they fit your brand and morals, beliefs, and culture? That's a great question. I had recently been interviewed for a podcast of a dear friend of mine, speaking to influence, and Laura Sicola is amazing, and she is a wonderful teacher about how to do really great presentations and how to speak with influence. And I was on there, and she was great behind it. You want to make sure that if you're being asked to do that, that they do have that same values of what you do and that give back mentality, as well as the professionalism too, because she has her podcast on iTunes and her marketing team markets basically all the people that she brings on board. So you're going to get visible, but people also like you're relating to that person too. So you want to make sure that you do some back end research on this person. And most people already have a really good showing either like on Instagram or YouTube or iTunes, especially on the podcast side. It's all out there. And, just do a Google too on that person. And you know what I'd always do too is just like Google that person's name and just put down like reviews. And I think sometimes people are surprised they see that, but it helps me understand, if this person believes in what I believe in and all too, and are more givers and takers out there, and really wants to help mankind. And you have to really be, if it doesn't feel right, then don't do it. But it's really going to fit your morals and beliefs and all too, and where you're going. By all means, use it. But then don't forget, after you have it, make sure that you use your marketing team to basically get that out there for you, because it's really good social media for you and your company. That helps a lot too. So, all right, that's the questions that I have today, everybody. I do wish you much success and peace and health out there. And if you need anything, please let us know. We're here to help as much as you need. But if you do need anything, just send us an email, MO'Conner@tocgrp.com. And enjoy the beautiful weather, guys. Take care now. Bye-bye.